In theatres July the 1st, Mr. Malcolm's List is a feature-length period dramedy set during the 19th century. It cleverly examines relationship expectations between two women, as well as their love interests, on the backdrop of high society London, with its rigidly high expectations of marriage as the centre force of social acceptance. Selena Dalton, played by FREIDA Pinto, who also produced the film, is the central character around which most of the activity takes place. Here's what she shared about the film, her role, and why she decided to produce it. You gorgeous woman, you. Congratulations on such an entertaining film. I'm so excited to have this chat with you.
Thank you so much, Raj. We go back a long way. So I'm very happy this is happening.
Me too, absolutely. You know, I have to tell you a little preface to our discussion, Freida. Mr. Malcolm's List is exactly what I would picture as the story, both in its arc and presentation, if I was to watch Jane Austen write a book with Oscar Wilde. As a fan of both.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
Now, as a fan of both, this is a rare treat for me to watch the melodrama and comedy unfold both at the same time. It's pure genius. And before we start talking, the film gets a 5-star rating from me for so many reasons, not to mention you in it. So let's start by asking you the fundamental question. You came across this script. How and why did you decide to both act in it and produce it?
So this script actually had existed for quite some time. It was on the blacklist, and it was something that I probably had a life even before this, with some different iterations. And the two producers that I was working with, and one of them particularly a very dear friend of mine, Laura Lewis, told me about this project when I was in New York about 4 or 5 years ago. And all she said was, we really want to make this film, but the director has this vision and she's just watched Hamilton. And she wants to kind of embrace that style of storytelling, where it's just people telling the stories, and it's not people because of their color of their skin that are playing a certain role. There was no mention of color of the skin in Hamilton at all. It was just who you saw the best people for the parts, right? And so she had this vision, and I thought, wow, that is genius. And then Raj, when I think of, you know, growing up in India and studying English literature and the Regency period being very much part of it, and reading all those Jane Austen novels. Well, I grew up in India where everyone looked like me. So there was brown people next to me, in front of me, behind me, everywhere. Yeah. So for me, imagining myself as one of those amazing characters that Jane Austen would write about, those female characters, felt very natural and normal. You know, my perspective was only relegated to what I knew growing up, which is everyone looked like me. So when Laura presented that idea to me, and this is what the director Emma Hawley-Jones was thinking of, it didn't feel jarring at all, which is, now that I've heard the perspective of my co-stars, I realize that I am actually the minority in the way I think, because I didn't grow up in the United States and I didn't grow up in the UK. So I pretty much thought this was natural. Like, why shouldn't I be one of these characters? And so I might have been a little, you know, very comfortable with the idea of it, and did not feel like I needed to justify my presence in this film. So we went ahead and we made the short film. Now, the short film was made as a proof of concept, because nothing like this had been made in film or television before, because this happened even before Bridgerton. And so we made the short film on a very tight budget given to us by Refinery, and then we waited for 4 years because a lot of stuff happened. We drummed up enough interest, but not enough money to make a movie like this. And you don't want to make a movie on such a tight budget that you don't add the quality that it really requires. And then, of course, COVID happened and a lot of other things happened. But then Bridgerton also happened. Yes. And when Bridgerton happened, it really popped people's eyes open, you know, and it made them ready and hungry for more material like this. So really, in a way, it's not about who came first and who came afterwards. It's about how we helped each other.
Right. And that's the point here, right? Because it's together that we create changes in society and changes in, the way that we want our world to show up for our children, And
Absolutely.
absolutely. So I got to ask you this. The mindset around being an actor on one side and just how hugely, you have to be in that zone. And then being a producer on the other side, one of many female producers, may I add. How were you able to keep the church and state of that separate, but also working together? I mean, there's got to be a lot going on in your head.
On this particular project, I feel my producing duties were a lot lighter,
Okay.
because there were already, like you said, a lot of other producers who were already doing the heavy lift.
Yeah.
My main achievement, I like to say, in this film was suggesting the most wonderful Zawe Ashton for the role of Julia. We had an actress who had to drop out last minute out of the project,
Yeah.
and everyone was scrambling. And I reminded the producers that about a year ago, I had suggested Zawe Ashton because I had done this wonderful TV show called Gorilla with
Yeah.
her, and she was phenomenal and electrifying, and her presence is just magnetic. Truthfully, I say this, I think she steals the show. It's her movie. It's Julia Thistlethwaite's movie for me through and through.
Wow.
And I'm so happy that they went with it. And I feel like that's one of my proudest achievements, because as a producer, you also need to be able to bring in the right people for the job. And I feel like I fulfilled that duty really well. And then, of course, helping with financing and bringing up the right investors to the project. Of course, I played a part in that as well. But the heavy lift was really the Laura Rister and Laura Lewis, and I would chime in and help out whenever possible. The heavy lift is going to happen for me on my next couple of projects that I'm producing and acting in.
I can't wait to talk to you about those. This particular role of Selena Dalton is really interesting because most of the plot, whether it's direct or indirect, seems to house around her character. Can you describe her and her importance to the overarching of the film?
Right. She is the main, what do you say, the pawn in the plot, right? Like, yes. She has been situated into the storyline of really Julia Thistlethwaite's imagination. Like, this is Julia Thistlethwaite's world, and Selena was invited to just be part of it. But somewhere down the line, Selena is going to take control without even realizing that what she's feeling within her emotions are really driving her to kind of go against the plot that Julia Thistlethwaite had in mind. And so really, I feel it's like this, the reluctant girl, the girl who comes in all excited, thinking she's meeting her best friend and possibly find love in the city along the way, because there are responsibilities and she would like to settle down. We're talking about the Regency period. They all thought a certain way. And then only to realize that her plan was going to have emotions that she did not even know that she was about to experience, that is going to change the whole plan altogether. So really, I feel it's such a fun character, because as much as Mr. Malcolm is discovering what he really wants and he realizing that his list is really a shield, Selena is realizing that she's coming into her own. She's realizing what she actually really wants in life, and what love really feels like, what true love really feels like, and the push and pull of it, and the pain that comes with it as well. So I really enjoyed playing the character of someone who walks into something blind, not knowing, and then really having her life presented to her right in front of her. And she either grabs it with both her hands or she lets it go.
Absolutely. And FREIDA, like, to close off, I have to, it's so many questions to ask you, but I want to wrap up by asking you, what is the, kind of main message of this film that relates to today's audience? Let's get people in the theater.
Okay. I think we definitely want people in the theater nonetheless, because it's been enough. It's been too much these last 2 years, and we're all tired, and we continue to be feeling tired with what's happening in the world. So my number one hope is that we provide 2 hours or whatever the runtime of the film is, let's just say 2 hours, 2 hours of pure escapism, where you can leave your worries at the door, where you can literally just sit, lean back with a bunch of other people that you may not even know of, strangers who we haven't met in a very, very long time, and kind of find bits and pieces of our lives as relatable factors with all of these characters, whether it's the dating world, whether it's feeling jilted, whether it's having a non-negotiable list for the partner in your life, which I had before I met my husband. So have that non-negotiable list and find that aspect of Mr. Malcolm's storyline relatable. And then I really do hope that we all feel love deep down. We all feel love, we feel hope. And this is my true desire for this film. I want it to be a success, because who doesn't want a film that they've produced and acted in to be a success? I want it to have the box office numbers. Yes. But more importantly, I want people to leave the film saying, sigh of relief. That felt good.
Yes. And that's exactly what people will get. Sweetheart, I adore you. I love the journey that you have been on, that you're on, and that I know you will continue to be on. Thank you for your time. I really encourage everyone to go out and watch this tremendous film. Thank you, my love.
Miss Dalton, it is common knowledge you have been cast into this world without fortune or prospects. It is my desire to have you as my wife.
I am greatly honored by your offer, but I cannot accept.
This offer will not be extended a second time.
Third, actually.
Out of my way, idiot geese!
My dearest Selena, will you come visit me in London? I promise you will be well entertained. I need your assistance. There is a gentleman, Mr. Malcolm. He humiliated me. No. I then found out he had a list.
You have a list of qualifications for a bride.
I would love for Mr. Malcolm to receive the comeuppance he deserves. Plus, it could be rather fun. If we present you as the perfect woman, then he discovers he does not meet the requirements on your list. That would be a perfect sort of poetic justice.
Mr. Malcolm, there's someone I want to introduce you to, Miss Selena Dalton.
I'm very pleased to make your acquaintance. Perhaps you might join me for a tour of the picture gallery.
Most certainly have a reputation.
Is that the famous Mr. Malcolm? Do you know him?
And you believe this description of me?
He was very impressed by her wit and humor.
I must be nearsighted.
May I assist?
Selena, it is working.
Why did you come to London, Miss Dalton?
Because I was lonely.
I was lonely too before you came.
Your list is a shield. You do not want to give your heart to a woman unworthy.
It gives us hope, and hope is a good thing.
Perhaps I am mistaken in thinking hope a useless thing.
You're being blinded by his intelligent conversation and devastatingly handsome good looks. What?
You thought to humiliate Malcolm, and you end up presenting him with the perfect wife, and that must sting.
Wish me luck, old boy.
I don't think you'll meet it.
It is time to show Malcolm your list.
I do not think Mr. Malcolm is the man you think he is.
Seems you have been deceiving me from the beginning.
Love cannot be planned so carefully. It will stir things up a bit. That is part of its charm.